welcome to My Fit Money. I'm Sarah Peterson here with Jeff Mathies and Stephen Foltz of Mathies Financial Partners. Good morning. How are you guys doing today?
Very good.
Wonderful to see you. And we have a even more wonderful topic that I want to talk about, and that is, how do you measure the financial success or just the success of your clients?
Go ahead. You've got a great story.
It's a big one. Hope you had your coffee.
Yeah, definitely had my coffee. That's a really important kind of understanding, because it's just not all about the money, right? There's certain things in life. You have to have the money to retire. You have to have an income plan. You have to know that those things are right to have what we call peace of mind surrounding your retirement. But I use the concept of, is this plan going to work? And when my head hits the pillow at night, am I going to sleep okay? Mm-hmm. And that is a very different thing, because people get all academic about, well, I'm a moderate investor or a growth investor, and the vast majority of people just don't connect to that. Growth investing means nothing to them, right? But what does mean something to them is understanding what they are doing and why, having a real understanding of that and how that relates to them, and then picking a plan that provides stability in the short term so they don't have to obsess or worry about their money, and that when they go to bed, they can sleep without worry.
To me, the last few years have been obviously very tumultuous, right? Mm-hmm. Peace of mind is something you can't put a price on, but we all need it right now. And it is so hard to know what tomorrow is going to bring. And if we don't have a plan in place, then whatever happens tomorrow, we're not going to be prepared for that. Right. But I think it's also really important to remind our viewers that this plan is fluid, right? It's constantly being updated and changing.
And it has to be designed to be able to handle turbulence and be fluid where you can make the adjustments. I think success for a lot of people, it starts at a different place, the entry point, trying to get into the planning. So right now, the conversation we're having with people is very different than the conversation with our newer clients who were coming in 2017 or 18. The conversation is very different. Right. So when we talk about, we want to measure, how do we measure the success? The end result is usually, the target is usually the same, but where they start is very different. So I think the process that we use helps to guide them down a path that will allow them to ask the questions they need to ask. It teaches them what the right questions are to ask to make sure that they have a successful investing experience and a successful retirement. People, Steve was just saying the other day, people say too often, what does it look like to be a successful investor? And he stops that and says, well, what does it look like to be a successful retiree? Because it's so much more than just the money. You focus on the family, you focus on the lifestyle, and then the money's important, but the retirement experience is more important because it encompasses so many more things than just the investment experience.
And what we have learned, because everybody learns through what they do, and what we have learned more than anything is the importance of providing a base level of education as the first thing that you do. Because once you do that, and I use analogies. I have a potato chip analogy. I have a Wendy's analogy. I have all these analogies, and they're consistent. Because later, when you're having anxiety or you're having worry, I can go back to that same analogy and I can say, remember when we talked about the potato chip analogy and we're talking about diversification or whatever it is that their anxiety is currently about, it brings a consistency of education and understanding, and it helps them kind of recenter on what's important and not be as worried, because they're like, oh yeah, we already know that. We already, solved for that problem in the past. But everybody turns the news on, and it can be just anxiety provoking.
Yeah.
I think there is, as we've talked about, a strong emotional component, not only in dealing with your everyday finances, but when we're approaching the idea of retirement. So many of us would rather talk about, our trip that we're going to take next month, than think about, oh, that sounds like so far in the future. And as you're getting closer and closer to it, you realize, okay, I wish I perhaps maybe started planning for this a little earlier, because your life is constantly changing and your needs might change. And our parents, you know, they retired younger because our lifespan was shorter, right? So I remember my grandparents being retired in their late 50s. And I think about that now and I'm like, this is not a thing. You don't know people at 55, 57 retiring anymore because we're living longer. So we're working longer and we're still hoping to have that, you know, go-go years, even in our 70s and 80s.
Yeah.
It's true. I think it's interesting, even in just the last 10 years, how people have changed the focus of what their end date or whatever the retirement date is going to be. I mean, I feel like my grandparents retired whenever they got to the point they were too tired to work, right? And you're right, life expectancies were much shorter. But today, it just seems like people are healthier, they're living longer, they've got more energy. They don't necessarily want to retire. In most cases, they will retire because they want to go have some fun. But a lot of times people retire and they call us a couple of months later and they're like, Jeff, I'm looking for a job, I'm bored out of my mind, my wife's gonna kill me. I gotta get out of this house. You got any ideas? And then we're thinking, well, let's have a conversation about it. Retirement's supposed to be fun, so make sure you're not doing something that feels like a job.
There are so many transitions that we go through our life, and the act of retirement is one of those transitions. But even during retirement, there's different little sub-transitions that happen. And I teach a class on how to retire and the activities of retirement. And it's so important to bring value not only into your life, but into other people's lives. And because then that is an opportunity and you feel good about those things. And so this is a core component of what we do, because we take a coaching perspective. We mutually agree upon a goal and we coach people towards that goal. And that's why when we say it's more than just about the money, because the money, while very important, there are other things in life that really, really matter as well. And sometimes people need a little bit of help to go through those transitions. And the transition of, you know, in the market and seeing what's going on like right now, you can recenter people about what you did with the money, but at the same time, remind people, let's not forget about your family that's reaching out to you right now, and they want you to spend more time with them, because that's important as well.
Well, to me, now is the time when the sun is shining. We don't know what tomorrow is going to bring, and if we've learned anything about the, you know, life in the past few years, it's very unpredictable. This is something you can do to plan for your future and take away some of that worry and give you a peace of mind. And it's completely complimentary for. Are we doing it for the first 15 viewers of the show?
First 15 viewers.
Okay, the first 15 callers that call in today to 844-234-3939. This is complimentary just for taking the time and sitting and getting this education with us. We do need to take a quick commercial break. We're going to come back and talk more about measuring the success of your life through planning properly for your retirement. We'll see you soon.
How confident are you in your current financial plan? Do you know with certainty how the recent market volatility will affect your future hopes and dreams? How much are you paying in taxes? And how much are you losing to unnecessary high fees? You didn't work to save this money so that you could spend your time worried in retirement. Now is the time to take charge of your finances so you can feel confident about your future. Call in during the next 30 minutes of today's show only to set up an absolutely complimentary, no obligation, full-blown financial review that will result in your own customized written plan that we're giving away complimentary to the first 10 people who respond. We'll start with a full-blown analysis of what you already have. By running a report to untangle how much you are currently paying in fees, how you're allocated for risk, and what it's costing to work with your current advisor. Next, we'll identify your goals. Where do you see yourself in the next 5 years? Where do you want to go, and who do you hope to go there with? Is your current financial plan set up to get you there without mishap? Let's design a roadmap to create a financial plan you can follow with confidence. Get the piece that so many people are missing from their retirement. Find out how having a written plan can make a difference to your retirement dreams. Call now to schedule your complimentary, no obligation, full-blown financial review today.
Hello and welcome back to My Fit Money. I'm Sarah Peterson here with Jeff Mathies and Stephen Foltz. And before break, we were talking about the word success and how do we measure a successful retirement?
I think that when we talk about measuring a successful retirement, I think we also need to talk about the process we use to get to that point. And a lot of times people say, well, I know what I want my retirement to look like in the future, but I don't know where to begin. So for us, we have a process that everybody goes through where when they come in to see us, they may not just be meeting with us as fiduciaries. I mean, we designed our team around fixing a lot of the problems that we saw people coming in with for since we started in this industry many years ago. So for example, if we have a client family come in and they're like, Jeff, Steve, we really need some help when it comes to the foundation of our family. Like they don't have any estate planning done, for example. We have an in-house legal team and we will bring them in. And we'll say, here's our legal team, ask them any questions you want. Let's see if they can get you started down the right path. And in addition to that, let's say that transitions to, well, now we really need help. We don't understand Medicare. There's a lot of moving parts when it comes to Medicare. Who are we going to talk to about supplements or advantage plans or ABCD? What are we going to do there? Well, there's too much when it comes to Medicare for the fiduciaries, myself, Steve, the other guys that are fiduciaries with us. There's just too much there for us to be experts in that and experts in the finance. So what do? We hired a director of healthcare services, and all this person does is help our clients with Medicare questions.
Love it.
And sends them down the right path to getting the right plan that they need based on their unique situation. And
you said that she's a registered nurse?
No, we have a registered nurse in addition to the director of healthcare services.
Which I think is incredible.
And she focuses on prescription drug plans and making sure that everybody is getting the right program there as well. Because that's a very unique skill set, having the knowledge that an RN has. So for us, what a treat to have her on the team and be able to answer some very deep questions that we wouldn't even know where to begin to answer. So it's critical that we have these teammates, these team members in place, because when we talk about people's retirements and retirement planning, there's so many moving parts there. I mean, we build a plan for people, we stress test that plan, and we need that plan to stand up against some very powerful enemies out there who are trying to poke holes in it, and some of those are bad health. So we're proud of the team that we have. They do an exceptional job for us and our client families. And I couldn't say enough that we are very blessed to have designed the team that we have the way it is right now.
I know how complicated that process is, people who are just getting into Medicare. And it's just so lovely to know that there's somebody who can make sense of some of that, because we're already in a big transitional time, right? And so there's just a lot of moving parts.
There's a lot, and luckily for us as well, we're not stuck to one little area. I mean, we have 3 offices. We're in Denver, Colorado Springs, and Pueblo. They're staffed offices. And so it's not, people don't have to go very far to get a lot of help.
I love it. Well, to me, these are resources we all could use. And, as we've said before, I don't really understand why this isn't a part of our formalized education. But we, potentially, if you have the standard track that everybody takes, you're going to go to college, you're going to get out, you're going to get a 401k, someone hands it to you, and then what?
Yeah. It's interesting that you bring that up. Steve and I have a program that we do for our clients' grandkids. We call it Millionaire.
How to be a millionaire.
Yeah, how to be a millionaire. The focus of that is not necessarily just about, okay, now you're going to inherit $1 million, go have fun. It's not about that. It's what does it take to actually accumulate $1 million. And what we're trying to do is teach the kids and the grandkids, you have to start focusing on your future now, as early as you possibly can. And what we're trying to do is show them that if you start saving a little bit of money now, it equates to a substantial amount in the future, as long as you just keep that little amount going. And if it's not in their bank accounts every month, they're not going to miss it if it's a small amount. And we show them that if you wait until you're 30 to start saving, the difference between the amount you have to save at 30 and 20 to hit $1 million when you're 65 is substantial. It's huge because of the compounding effect.
It's so gratifying, actually, to watch somebody who did that And then to see that, okay, because this literally happened last week to me. I get these emails and it's like, change of life. And she's 30. And we have the resources as a result of the plan that we put into place now to let her do that change of life. And, you know, so these things can really make a difference. And that's what we have to prepare for in all of the plans that we have for everybody is that, well, what if there is a change? And I got that email yesterday at dinner.
Yeah. You know what's interesting, too, speaking about the kids, the most frustrating thing for me, since I started the first firm that we have, the most frustrating thing is when people come in and go, what is your account minimum? I'm like, what are you talking about? Well, we meet all these big box shops and they say they won't meet with anybody with less than $500,000. And my first thought is, so your children aren't important to these people? They don't care about your grandkids? Our youngest client is 11.
I love it.
And that's the youngest client who's actually involved. I mean, we have little
Kids.
ones that are, you know, college plans and stuff for babies, but this is the youngest that he's actually involved, asking questions and learning. So it's frustrating to me when people put these account minimums on families like their kids don't matter. It is so frustrating to me. Teach them.
That's exactly what I was going to say, teaching them, because you're going to get somebody who has the right questions to ask as they get older and is better prepared. And because their generation has so many more tools in their toolbox, right? I mean, it's different than our grandparents. We don't just have the pensions. We have all these financial tools available to us, so they just need to be able to make sense of that.
Yeah, and people who think that the younger generations are not becoming savvy quickly when it comes to money are crazy. They will pull their iPhone out and flip to the little app and pull it up and show it to you, and you're still trying to fumble around with your savings. I mean, they are fast.
Let me just pull up my credit score.
Yeah, they're smart with it. They know what's going on. They're not stupid. They may act like it around their parents, but they're not stupid.
And also on the flip side, and you mentioned this before, I wanted to touch base on this, but it is so important, not just for the kids, but also families, including husband and wife. Yeah. The women were for so long kept sort of in the dark, and we are living longer and so much more financially savvy. And a lot of times, you know, the women are becoming the breadwinners in a lot of scenarios. It's so important that everybody's equally involved in the financial plan because we're going through this life together, right? So we all need to be on the same page. Yeah. Well, I want to make sure the viewers know exactly what it is that you're offering today, because it is very special to the viewers of this show for taking the time to sit with us.
Well, okay, so we understand that there's a lot of confusion out there right now. There's a lot of scarcity. So what we're offering you, if you have any confusion, scarcity, if you're worried about your income or worried about what's going on in the markets of the world today, give us a call. We're going to do a complimentary retirement ready review. Again, I know earlier I said it's for the first 15. Forget that. We're going to blow through that 15. We know people need help. Just call us. 844-234-3939. Get on the calendar. You're going to spend 15 minutes on the phone with me. And I'm going to ask you a ton of questions. I'm going to give you the ability to ask me a ton of questions. We're going to talk about your income. We're going to talk about your taxes. We're going to talk about the process we use, the MyFit process and all the components to that and how it may help you. And we're going to talk about the lifestyle and how do you maintain that. The first thing you have to do is give us a call, 844-234-3939. Let's get to know each other a little bit and see where that goes.
There is no reason to not pick up that phone and call, because as you can see, you're going to get an education. You may or may not be on the right path, and don't you want to know now? That phone number is 844-234-3939. We'll take a quick commercial break and we'll come back and talk more about success in planning for your retirement. We'll see you soon.
As a good saver, you've been putting away money during your working years. Studies find that the biggest fear of retirees is running out of money. Market volatility isn't just the downward movement of stock prices, it's the size and frequency of change. The more dramatic the ups and downs, the higher the volatility. This can put savers who are newly retired or a few years away from being retired at greater risk. Today's generation of retirees is not receiving traditional pensions as our parents or grandparents did. Instead, we have retirement accounts such as 401ks or 403bs. These accounts typically expose your money to market risk. The last thing you want right before retirement is to lose a portion of the money you need for income. But how do you turn these accounts into a retirement income? Is it safe to keep all your retirement money sitting in the stock market? The last thing you want is to lose a portion of the money you need for income due to market loss. By working with a financial professional, you can learn how to turn a portion of your savings into an income stream for life and income for the life of your spouse if you're married. We all have moments in our lives when we wish we had taken action sooner. Don't let procrastination reign on your retirement parade. Act now before it's too late. Please call our office to set up your no-cost, no-obligation retirement income review today.
Hello and welcome back to My Fit Money. I'm Sarah Peterson here with Jeff Mathis and Stephen Foltz, and we are talking today about success and how to measure that success in planning for our retirement. So much more than just money.
It is, and we always come back to, we surround ourselves with individuals that are really good at what they do. They're good with people, and a lot of times we talk about the people who are kind of at the front lines, you know, the advisors, the lawyers, the Medicare people, but we also need to make sure people understand that when you call, if our clients need us, we have a back office support team who is awesome. They can take care of almost anything you need if there's any service type of work, and we got to make sure that we point out those people are a big piece of our success, and we appreciate you a ton.
We're only as good as the village that we're in, right? And I love it when people call, they know they're going to get you, and then they're going to get to talk to you, and then you've got all these others. You've got a lawyer, you've got a registered nurse, you do tax planning. There's just so many components that go into this.
Yeah, we built the team around the idea that we don't want people to ask questions that we can't grab someone who can get the answer. I mean, we don't know everything, but we try to know what we can when it comes to finance. But when it comes to Medicare and some of that stuff, there's a lot of moving parts to that. So it's for us, we're going to bring somebody in who has been doing that for 30 plus years, who has a really good grasp on it. If that guy doesn't know the answer to a Medicare question, it shouldn't have been asked.
I always tell my kids, teamwork makes the dream work. Yeah. So I love it. Well, let's talk a little bit more about the challenges of sort of, you know, what about small business owners out there? Or I shouldn't say small, but business owners who have the challenge of not having sort of the predictable, you know, tools in their toolbox that everybody else has.
Yeah, we could do a whole show about that. So I like to use the term.
I'll give you 3 minutes. How about
give me 3 minutes. Closely held business owners are very different than your typical person who worked for an employer. They still save, but quite often they're re-injecting the money that they've saved back into their business, and they come in and they feel kind of like they know perhaps that they are different than the people that they sit down with at dinner time and talk about retiring. So they come in and they have totally different questions. They have a totally different process when it comes to retirement. They have to worry about like buy-sell agreements and how do I, you know, transition out of this property when I have another owner of the property. And I'm not even sure how to do that. And so the resources that a business owner has are held in a very different way. And we've seen individuals who do almost exactly the same thing, but they do it with investments in properties. And at some point, they want to not have to work in the same fashion that they've been working in the past, and you have to know how to start transitioning out of investments in real estate or investments in your business and those type of things, and turn that into something that is more liquid and that they can use for their retirement in the future.
You know, I'm a big, you know, kind of podcast nerd when I'm driving. I love to listen to podcasts on business owners. I think are so interesting to me. I've just seen, you know, the last couple of years because of COVID, a lot of people transitioned out of the jobs they were in that were sort of more predictable, right? And decided that I don't want to do this anymore. And they maybe found a passion and end up making a business out of it, which to me was one of the best things that came out of the last few years. But that shift probably would require somebody to sort of start over in the way that they're planning for their future.
And it's great that people have, or that there's the resources available to do that. I mean, if you go back to 1930s, 80% of the people that were employed were self-employed, and 20% worked for big companies. And that trend, it totally switched through the 80s to where 80% of the people worked for big companies and only 20% were self-employed. What we're seeing now is a flood back towards entrepreneurs starting businesses. I mean, I couldn't imagine what the processing must look like at the state level for people setting up new companies trying to get stuff working. It's just amazing to me. So entrepreneurs, it is a very unique the type of mind it takes to start a business and not be stressed out about it all of the time. But we have a lot of clients who come in and they ask great questions, but Steve is right. They are very different questions when it comes to retirement planning when you are the business owner.
You also see the same thing happen. So what I was just talking about is transitioning out of that. It's interesting to watch people transition into that.
Absolutely.
And having resources and things properly structured, that you have some liquidity so you can do different things with the money at different times, is critically important as well. And it's satisfying to take people through a process and see them start achieving their hopes and dreams, not only in retirement, because when you're talking about success of retirement, I really believe it's how do I achieve my hopes and dreams during retirement? It usually involves grandkids, travel, those type of things.
I love that you just used that, because when I think about retirement, to me, it is all of the culmination of all these hopes and dreams we've had over the course of a lifetime. And I would just love for the viewers out there to really understand that this process is something that, you know, I've seen other advisors charge $1,000 and up for this process. And today, because they're, you know, listening to us, taking this journey with us, when they give you a call, it's you that's going to be answer the phone and talk them through.
Yep, so the way this would work is you give us a call at 844-234-3939, get on the calendar. You're going to spend 15 minutes on the phone with me, maybe longer, whatever it takes, but we're going to set it up for 15. We'll give you the ability to ask us a ton of questions. I'm going to ask you a bunch of questions. The bottom line is we talk a lot about people in retirement and saving. The reality is it doesn't matter if you are a small business owner or you've been saving your entire life. We've been to this dance before, regardless of where you're coming from. I mean, I think this is the 7th corporation that I've set up. So we know what the language is. If you're a small business owner and you're scratching your head going, man, I wish I would have started thinking about how am I going to retire sooner, give us a call. We know the right questions that you should be asking. We'll teach them to you. Call us at 844-234-3939. We're going to walk you through our retirement ready review. We're going to talk about your income. We're going to talk about taxes. We're going to talk about your lifestyle and how the MyFit process could fit into that piece. Make sure we get your questions answered. We'll see where that takes us.
Now is the time while the sun is shining. That number is 844-234-3939. Gentlemen, as always, it's an education for all of us. Thank you so much for being here. And thank you for joining us in your road to retirement. We hope you'll join us for the next one. We'll see you soon.